This is iRacing.
When it comes to endurance-style racing, there is no greater place to watch than action here around at Sebring. A place where it is always multi-class, always married up with great racing. It is here where we go old school to start off your season with us on the Global SimRacing Channel. This is IMSA Vintage Series, and if you've not seen it before, it is quite simply put one of the great showcases to get yourself in and watching endurance racing on iRacing. Welcome one and all, my name's Jake Sperry here, bringing you through all of the coverage. Craig King along with me for today's action, Daniel Costello in the director's chair, and Dougie Beard providing cameras for us to use. But to a Sebring track which every single time February and March rolls around, Sebring is the word on everyone's lips. But here in September, it's one that couldn't be further away. Let's take a little look at what makes this place special with our GSRC Track Guide.
Welcome to Sebring International Raceway. Home to the 12 Hours of Sebring, one of the most grueling tests in endurance racing, this is a track which has earned a fearsome reputation among drivers. The circuit itself is located on the southeastern edge of the city of Sebring, Florida, and was built out of Hendricks Army Airfield shortly after World War II. 3 layouts are currently in use, ranging from 1.7 to 3.7 miles in length. The longest course, which is perhaps the most well-known with it being the one used for the famed endurance race, shockingly still contains portions of the original airfield surface. It's this aspect which has become a signature feature of the track, making it extremely bumpy for racing. Sunset Bend in particular nearly shakes cars apart while they attempt to navigate the high-speed 180-degree corner. As you'd expect for the side of an airfield, there's nearly no elevation change over the course of a lap, but many of the curves are dramatically tall and unforgiving, daring drivers to glance them yet not hit them directly. Thankfully, places to pass are plentiful, including spots like the Hairpin and Cunningham. However, the many fast, sweeping turns creates a dilemma for car setup, since a vehicle that's made too stiff could wind up bottoming out on the onerous bumps. In the end, if you have the wherewithal to withstand the track's rough nature, you're likely to fare well. And since Florida fans almost always show up in huge numbers to witness this test of car and driver, you'll have plenty to impress at this legendary North American road course.
The corners tell a fantastic story around this former airfield base here. A 6-kilometer challenge, 3.74 miles today in terms of charge. But the keys today is about staying in the tow of cars in and around. You get great chances today, Craig. The hairpin is one of them, over into Sunset Bend, and turn 1 are the others. So keep an eye out on how they challenge Sunset Bend. That corner of 1,004 lines might be the big winner or loser today for someone.
And they always talk about respect the bumps around here. And we know the pedigree of this Nissan GTP. It doesn't like to hit some bumps. So it's going to have a real trouble at those cobblestones or those slabs of concrete. Used to get those on the M25, on the Junction 25 of the M5, I mean. No longer there. They have to be careful when they go through those bumps. But it's going to be sections like at Bishop, John BN at 15 and Le Mans at 16 as well, where it will start to tighten up. Overtaking comes easily around here, but you're going to make sure you don't overdo it, because those bumps will catch you out even on the flattest parts of the track.
They certainly will, and we'll have to keep in mind what everybody's troubles and strife are going to be over the course of racing. So when it comes to today, it's about setup and hold yourself steady. At the start of a brand new season, we can say, what are they in for here today and what are the challenges? It's 40 minutes worth of racing action here to get themselves sorted. The GTOs, so the lower category, and the GTPs, the higher category, they've each got open setups so they can fine-tune and fettle how they want to. There are no spare cars here today. If you break the car, you've bought the car and you have to take it back to the shop. And there are drive-through penalties in play at 17 incident points, and disqualification will come through at 25 incident points today. So there are little margins for error as they get themselves set. But let's talk about getting into qualifying, because they've got 8 minutes to get qualifying sorted, 2 laps available to them on the board, and a circuit which, quite frankly here, is all about setting up your lap. You can gather it back up if you have a poor opening to the lap, but the opening sector is underratedly difficult and so critical to get correct.
Yeah, you think as well how much light braking you do into turn 1, then heavy braking into the next following corners, as we see some of these cars getting through. This is Jean-Bien going into Le Mans, and off that famous French driver, of course. And this is where was where WEC would have had their start-finish line, but more drivers coming on by. You start to see, as we get ready for the ties, it's very interesting out there because it is the afternoon in September, so it's a track temp of about 34 Celsius, a little bit cooler than normal. The wind, Jake, 20 kilometers an hour northeast. It's not as blustery as Baku today, but it is going to be one that will affect some of these drivers through some of these important corners.
Well, as far as they go, we're not that far up above sea level, just 61 feet above it at the moment, so there isn't that much to deal with. There is the common sight of the silk-cut Jaguar livery of Brendan Lim making progress in the number 12 here today to look and challenge for the opening charges. Now, your champion for last season in GTP, not here today as we focus on a legendarily quick driver, the gold standard, Aldrius Valenteus, who is there and making good progress. So we'll see what Valenteus can do in the yellow and the blue of Ukrainian colours. And I would say, as you look to get this season sorted, they'll be looking at the one driver who's not here, Jacob Reed. He's out with flu.
He's out with flu, but he did set the fastest time earlier in the week when it came to qualifying, a 1:42.806. The only man this week to go into the 42s when it comes to qualifying. So it's going to be interesting to see if Valenteus can respond, because he actually did have not a good time there as he goes around. Looks like he took a bit too much speed coming through the less forgiving tower turn there, and it does look like, yeah, just tried to make that car do too much. And I think touching that curve, one of the highest curves on the track there, Jake, just upset the Apple car.
It's so easy to do, and we see it time and again. Your fastest car right now in GTO is the Glacier Racing Audi there of Joni Hagner, who gets a 1:59.449 down. Is a 10.5 clear of Mickey Friesen, who is in second position, but there's a number of big names yet to put times in. Joran van Hicks, Noel Loomberg has just crossed the line and gone quicker by 0.5 of a second. So Loomberg now has the control. And then, of course, Andreas Schuster as well will be looking to try and put a name up at the top. And it's worth talking about this here today as Ivan Platon goes quickest overall, 43.3. We've got a split.
We've got a split. We've got a strength of field on the top split today of 4,211. That translates to a 4,159 in the GTPs and a 4,277 for this man and the rest of the field, Mickey Friesen. And we can't really see his face. He probably doesn't really care that it's split today. However, he's going to be really happy to just see what he can do, and look how he has to fight here. The GTPs will be just coasting through throttle control through Jean-Bien before they hit Le Mans, but for these GTOs, a little bit of braking is needed out there for those drivers. Mickey Friesen will come on by to the ever apparent Omen Straight for one more go.
A shake of the head. I tell you what, Nigel Mansell would be incredibly impressed with that beard mustache combo that he's running with. Yes, we do know that it's his microphone that is there just in front of him. But now through Sunset Bend, the corner of 1,004 lines, the shake of the head told you everything. He doesn't think this is going to be an improvement. Rushing over towards the line. Oh, it is, but not enough. 59.346, left 2/10 on the table to Joni Hagner. So Hagner now going up to the top. Shadi Ahmad is quickest right now in the number 21, or was, because Pepe Fuentes has just gone quickest. Here comes Ivan Platon.
Here comes Ivan Platon. What can he do? Pepe was flirting with a 42 there. And can Platon find those 3/10? And look, nowadays, no more grasser at the end of the corner can really take some moves. Martinez goes into fourth. Ivan Platon will not improve. But now we've got to keep our eyes open because there's the man that improves. Valenteus will go into pole position. And I tell you what, Jacob Reed, if you're looking, he didn't break your fastest lap this week.
No, and that is big for Valenteus here, who knows he didn't get the quickest qualifying time out there. Noel Lundberg has gone quickest in GTO, but here comes Christophe Alenajak now looking to jump for the line, and will there be enough to go and improve it? It's a huge improvement, 43.3, 4/10, third row. That is big in the dying embers here of qualifying. Andreas Schuster will be the last car to set a time, or have time to set a time, and without a time set so far, crosses the line and goes okay only as far as that goes. A 59.872. Qualifying is in the books, and the field now is set for racing action here at Sebring. So we'll run down through your order. I'll take you through GTP. Craig will have GTO for you, but it is the gold standard who is at the top of the field. Aldrias Valenteus on pole position, a 1:42.856 for company. It's Pepe Fuentes then on the front row. Shadi Ahmad and Ivan Platon are on row 2 with Christophe Alenajak in 5th and Gabri Martinez in 6th position. Henning Schwebig will start this one from 7th with Laust Olsen in 8th. Jack Wells will start 9th with Seamus Power, rounding out your top 10 as far as the field goes. You then have Brendan Lim in 11th and Fabian Youngbluth in 12th. And then Heike 360 ES, Xavier Sanchez, a Porsche All-Star, there in 13th position with Antonio Alvarez then in 14th. The Colombian Diego Mastretta will go from 15th with Gael Gonzalez then in 16th. And the one car not set a time, Pablo Rodriguez Hoglar, then in 17th position, unable to go any further in GTPs.
Well, we got 14 GTOs today in the top split. And it'll be Noel Lundberg who will be in pole position. Beside him will be Joni Hagner, who claimed he rammed his qualifying. Mickey Friesen will be in 3rd with Josh Brain in 4th. And then it is Johan Van Hicks who will be in 5th. Beside him will be Doug Cloud in 6th. Andreas Schuster just made it into 7th there at the barest of margins. And Henry Morse will be beside him in 8th. Neil Kemp will take 9th. And then Ika Costa Salo will be 10th. And then 3 of the last 4 sets of times. It's Martin Krajcik who will be 11th. Mate Lorenzi will be 12th. Aitor Sintez Galindo continues this bug of his to enjoy the GTO in 13th. The last of the time qualifies as Matthew Cockerham did not set a time.
So Matthew Cockerham will have the tough task of making this one work from all the way back in this grid. It will be a full pace lap behind the Porsche iRacing first safety car as they will look to try and get themselves set and situated with these track conditions that they will have to navigate through. And we say this is a respect the bump circuit. It's one of the more unique circuits in the world of motorsport, Craig, because there's not many places where you race on pure concrete.
No, did you know it used to be a World War II air base? I don't know if we've addressed that yet so far today, and here it is. I was making that joke earlier. Jake will know what I'm on about. There are roads in the UK that still used this sort of concrete there on that start-finish line and into Sunset and Turn 1, and then you come onto proper asphalt. And that transition can throw some drivers out a little bit because they look for those bumps almost like a reference marker when it comes later in the race as well, because you don't count the number of slots there to give you a reference. It's more just an idea if you just feel the car going through that, because you actually do have a changing grip through those parts of the track.
You certainly do. I'm reminded of the rally stage of the Panzerplatte for the German rally that has gone through in times gone by. So there are certainly elements where concrete has been a huge element of what makes great racing. But they will also know that with the reduced numbers, as we've got one car pulling over to the side there by the looks of it, and that is not great for one of the GTOs then in play. And I'm not quite sure who's been caught out there. and it looks like they've gone straight back to pits by the looks of things. So troubles indeed starting to befall various drivers, and the last thing you want is a little bit of a hiccup before racing action does indeed start. So that will be a little bit alarming for some out there. I think it was Martin Krajcik potentially who had that little slowdown. Could have even been Neil Kemp, who was finding a little bit of trouble there. But the reduced field should mean that it's a little bit easier about lap traffic today.
Well, I was going to say, do you want to have one more go at it? Do you want to have one more go at that? Because it's actually Johan van Hicks who had that moment out there with and I think he's just had to reset a few things, so he's going to get himself back up there through the field. And you see there's not a big gap here at the moment between both classes, and usually the drivers do like to give a bit more of a gap, but they might start to just open it up a little bit when they come down the Ulmann Straight, because the last thing these GTOs want is to see GTP drivers with cold tires just struggle to hit the bumps out there today. One more time in the formation, they'll come through into Le Mans, named of course after the great Le Mans racetrack, and then it will just be down to just one more corner. I do wonder what's going to happen, and I think we'll see some incidents at that hairpin first time by.
Well, Van Hicks will now have to start from pit lane. If he can get in time, he'll be declared as missing the start by doing so. But as they now hit the Ulmann Straight and run towards Sunset Bend, 40 minutes worth of racing action here in the evening of this Sebring track will bring itself into play. It's a time of day where that sun will be right in the eyes and will be causing havoc for all of the drivers here today. Under the corner of 1004 lines, the bridge that they will have to enter paddock, they work underneath. But now it's all about that drive. In dives the pace car, and now it's up to Valenterius with Pepe Fuentes alongside. We get the launch and we're underway for racing action. 2 and 3 wide as they work themselves through. GTO in the back also get themselves going. Valenterius unchallenged, and look at Shadi Ahmad trying to go for second. Here goes Hagner down the inside.
Yeah, Joni Hagner's going to try and do his around the inside, and I think Lumber may have made a mistake there, because Friesen will look to try and have a little bit of a move here, and all the teams now, all the drivers will start to go. 2 cars making 2 positions up already in this race. More cars in the background, and there's Schuster almost trying to go around the outside.
Almost, but not quite. Van Hicks has been able to get out, but will have to do so from the back. And Elena Jacques now in 5th position, lunging down the inside. Shadi Ahmad, after the good start, now starting to go backwards. Baton's got through, Fuentes has got back through, and now Gabri Martinez might be trying to eye something up here. So looking around the outside, back to 6th now for Elena Jacques, with Gabri Martinez in play. A bit of side-by-side back of that. Seamus Power fighting hard with Laus Dolson. Lundberg going straight back then at Cunningham Corner. It's a great place to get moves done. Can't quite get the rotation through the middle of the corner. Hagner holds for now.
Yeah, it holds for now, but for how long? He's been able to do some really good work on that defense. Lundberg's had a lot of the slipstream to really make some moves at the moment. It's crazy to think Valenterius, that timing tower is correct. He's almost 2 seconds ahead of everybody. This is Max Verstappen-esque. This is Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes Prime-esque at the moment from Valenterius. But this is the battle that is so tight, and I think this is going to be the battle that will stay this tight for the rest of the race, because when the top 3 all come together in a line here down the Ulmann Straight, this is where they'll start to look to move later in the race. They just want to stay together for the time being.
Well, and in terms of big races, you just got to make sure that you keep yourself in position and give yourself every opportunity later on. Shadi Ahmad sees Gabri Martinez down the inside, and Christophe Elena Jacques now looking for 2. He has to get well out of it, and Shadi Ahmad will take his place back. Now looking to the outside of him was heading Schwebig, hoping for a chance, but Schwebig decides, you know what, I'm going to play small ball today, not going to go for that move around the outside of turn number 3, but gives you the great indication there to start that race. There are attackers and defenders, and you've got to make sure that you're not being passive out there today.
thing is as well, they know it's a smaller field as we're on board with Seamus Power right now, battling on to Lars Olsen. They know it's a smaller field today, which means it's smaller groups of GTO traffic, which means they're not going to be held up so much, so the battle will be on pace. So the more that Martinez and Ahmad and Olesniak will start fighting, and you throw Sebring in there as well with the blanket, the more they'll start to lose time to Ivan Platon and Pepe Fuentes, who are in their own little battle. Everyone knows that Valenteus, knock on wood, the victory should be his without any fault. But now they're just going to have to hold it on. Javier Sanchez, though, he decided that he wants to go and visit the grass.
That's a bit of a spin there coming out of the tower turn, and it's all on his own in the red, white and blue colours then. He just runs through, and I think he's just lit the tyres up on the exit slightly too aggressively there, Craig. So as you go into the corner, you're looking to try and stamp your foot down, but you've got to wait in a car like this a little bit because it's a turbocharged engine in the GTP. So all that power is going to spool up, and you've got to wait for that power to hit, and then you get the horsepower.
Yeah, he just started to get a bit too much full throttle while the car was still sideways. The steering wheel and the wheels were not even pointing straight, and he tried to just light that up because he realized he has to stay in the group, because you're going to have to keep that battle. And you look at everybody. Here's this replay right now in the picture-in-picture. We're watching Josh Brain in the main page. He comes around tower, and there it is. You can see straight away the rear was not settled. The throttle came down. The turbo said hello. And a good save from Javier there to keep that out of the barriers, especially on the grass this early in the race.
How cunning is Matthew Cockerham here with Matteo Lorenzi? That is a position made. In comes Andreas Schuster into the pits, and looking at car 5, that looks like I may have accidentally put quali fuel in the car.
He's probably now hitting his steering wheel going, I told myself to make sure I've got it. I know people that have done that. We've all done that by accident. So it happens to the best of us as Fabian Yumlev tries to make some moves early on board there. Well, that was actually Brendan Lim getting past as well. So these drivers starting to really just have some moments out there. And Andreas Schuster in the text chat for the race has confirmed. As another one goes off of Alvarez, and that almost looks a carbon copy. She's on a different corner though, getting too hot on the throttle.
Well, that's in the wall, and in fact, he has run up the back of Diego Mastretta. So Mastretta had the spin, and Antonio Alvarez had nowhere to go. So it was the Mexican who spun, the Colombian ending up then the worse off for it. And so as it goes, a few positions gained as we watch Pablo Rodriguez then look to hope to find a pass, and this is against Brendan Lim, not finding much luck there. And look at Aldrius getting purple after purple after purple lap, and they are gonna scrap to turn 1. Jack Wells on the outside, Seamus Power on the inside, and through turn 1 they've survived. Turn 2, small flick right, turn 3, inside line again for Seamus. Can he hold? There's a bit of biffo between them. Through 4, now at turn 5. Finally, it is confirmed just before the gurney bend.
It's so tough at turn 5 to really look for a move around the outside or hold something around the outside. We go 007, and Power knows he has to start on defense here. Jack, we're going to have to try and do this around the outside of the hairpin. Very tough because it tightens up, and there you go. Again, it's a flat track, so there's no camber there, but he's unable to really get that power down to go around the long way, even though it then starts to kink side by side. We've also just got to keep our eyes for another move down into Cunningham, but nothing yet. And I'll tell you what, we've got a lead change in the GTOs because Noah Lundberg has matched Johnny Hagner, and he's taken that into turn 1.
Well, Hagner now has really been put in a position where it's these two and these two only. At the moment, it was a great run out of Sunset Bend, which opened up the opportunity here. We'll take a look here at Antonio Alvarez's instance. So there's Mastretta in front. Mastretta's over the curb. He bounces around. He can't put the power down. Nowhere for Antonio Alvarez to go as he tried to go to the inside. He finds the wall on the inside, and that is day done against the guardrails. But Noel Lundberg now clear and trying to build that margin, because Mickey Friesen on that last lap was the fastest driver of them all, only by a few thousandths of a second. But if they're going to keep playing that game, they're going to need to try and light up some pace, and I think it's go mode here for Noel Lundberg.
Yeah, interesting to know Josh Brain actually did beat Friesen by 400th of a second for the time, but we've got to get back. This is not the lap traffic. This is one of those back markers at the moment for Jack Wells as he's trying to hold off the battle with Chambers at the moment. Still holding on. Youngblood's right behind. Brendan Lim's right behind. One car just going to cause a little bit of a concertina effect at the mid-pack of these GTPs. See Pablo Rodriguez still battling on here, and a shout out to Pablo. He's not a regular in the series. Didn't set a qualifying time. He's up 4 positions. He's done that on attrition as well as just survival. But you've got to give a hats off because I say that he's almost just gone into the back of Brendan Lim. Just needs that experience at the back of the field. You can really get that.
Yeah, and when you're in a field like this and you're one of the lower drivers in a very high strength of field, it's an opportunity to learn and understand. There's your race leader, the gold standard, Aldris Valenteus. That's the gap behind to the 2 Spaniards chasing, Pepe Fuentes and Ivan Platon. And Platon has been reeling in lap after lap here, the likes of Pepe Fuentes, and I think this is pretty much a stand-up of who's going to battle for second place. 4 seconds almost the gap in 10 minutes or under 10 minutes. If it continues on at this rate here, Craig, he'll be winning by over 15 seconds.
I did see in the chat someone was saying he's on a different postcode. Well, I know about postcodes. They're a little bit longer than the gap that they've got here. And wide has gone Pepe there as we go back onto Neil Kemp, having a little bit of a battle. He's battling as well with Matej Larinski, and Matej's got a bit too wide. And that is such a tough corner there at turn 5 to really get right. There's a little kink in the curve that people use to give their reference point of when to kiss the apex and get on throttle. But in these cars, it's so hard to see that. And I think he's outbroken himself there as Matej, and you can see that Kemp had to do that reaction. You can't really brake late in these GTOs. So if you see a moment like that, if you're not using these Audis, if you see a moment like that, 9 times out of 10, that's the driver missing their braking point.
Very unique in terms of the wheel hubs then on these GTOs, that they stick out so much from the tyres, and that will be part of the braking system as Jonny Hagner now continues his sit right behind Noel Lundberg. It's a car that, in terms of a GTO or a GT spec of machinery, very, very unique to drive in the sim. There isn't really anything quite like it, and that's why it has the distinction of effectively being one of those cars that it's a Marmite car. You either love this one or you hate it.
And when you look at the cars on iRacing that are probably the toughest to drive, up the top would definitely be the Lotus 49s. This would be near it just due to the fact there is no traction control. It's 4-wheel drive. Well, these aren't 4-wheel drive. This is a prototype. You've got to think those GTOs, with the fact that you've got to downshift, you've got to blip, you've got to do the clutch, the 8th pattern. It's one of the toughest cars to drive in the sim. This, on the other hand, it's tough. It's not as tough, and that's where people get some mistakes sometimes. You've got way too much power compared to a modern-day prototype. The turbo kicks in when you don't expect it, and that is what power is used to, because as Jeremy Clarkson would once say, power.
Yeah, you need a lot of it, and the Minolta livery there of Fabian Youngblood as iconized, so to speak, when it came to the likes of GT4, has a huge slide into the middle of the corner. What a catch there by Fabian Youngblood. It will now give Seamus Power a chance to attack along the main straight and go for a move. Pivots over to the outside. He's lost the place over the course of this lap, but Fabian has it pinned through turn number 1 and will not have to worry too much about it as they work on through. Elena Jacques now through the traffic has got clearance on Henning Schwebig, but I look down at Shadi Ahmad, who is in pit lane after having a massive hit going through turn 2. He's gone straight on by and straight into the barriers.
I'll tell you what, he was lucky not to hit anybody else. It looks like he missed his braking reference point there, or just maybe locked up, trying to overtake one of those GTOs at the back of the field. I think that was Joran van Hicks. Just made a mistake out there, and he is gone. He could have taken more drivers out with him, but his name's not Stanek, so he just managed to save himself. Seamus Power is still battling this with Fabian Youngblood, and now they start to get into more back markers in the GTO. Still have to wait, but there's the difference there. One GTO has just managed to put 5 tenths on between Youngblood and Power just from that moment there at Tower.
Oh, it's Matthew Cockerham who's trying to stay out of the way here, and this is how. So Shadi Ahmad overcooks himself on the brakes. See, too much, has to abandon over the curb on the inside. Elena Jacques just about avoids it, and the top comes off for Shadi Ahmad, and that is as tough as it gets for an incident like that. You know, one wrong move, a blink and it's over, and that was just a case of 15 meters too far on a braking marker.
And turn 2 can be that treacherous out there for these drivers. And you've just seen why it can be treacherous as well. That transition, and drivers want to try and brake as late as they can, and just not working for them. The front of the GTPs in the background, into the back of the GTO traffic. These guys still yet to get there. We've got a 4-car pack here for 9th. Youngblood, Power, Lim, and Pablo Rodriguez as well. And Neil Kemp just had a little bit, Youngblood, sorry, had a little bit of a moment out there, just locking up into turn 2. Another driver getting caught out by it.
Henning Schwebig has run up the back of Neil Kemp going through to turn number 3, and Neil Kemp did not hold his line. He stayed on the left, he moved over to the right, and Schwebig ran out of road. Kemp was unpredictable, and he found himself rightfully in the wall for the troubles.
Yeah, not what you want to see. Brendan Lim as well, having a little bit of problems out there. That's what you need to make sure. You have to stay predictable, and very weird line from Kemp there to even hog to the left on the exit of turn 1. You usually track out to the right. Brendan Lim almost tried to defend around the outside there. Pablo Rodriguez loses out, and Gale Gonzalez right behind in that Toyota GT1 livery. Never did drive around here, but I tell you what, it would have been fantastic to see that car driving around here. Just that classic livery as well, and that classic sound.
Yeah, Brendan Lim, no contact for him, but he's in the grass, and suddenly, oh, Gale thought about the middle with Joran van Hicks there just in front, and Lim's going to go miles off. That's Matteo Lorenzi going by, and there will be a slowdown penalty surely in play there, and off of the exit they just about manage that, and it's all about drive as they work themselves to sunset bend. Laust Olsen now finding a bit of two-wide action. Jack Wells moving through and jumping up now into P7, and they're hitting the bulk of the traffic now.
Yeah, look at that fantastic camera work from Daniel, showing what they've got to go ahead of them, but they've got to get through turn 1 first, and then they'll probably get a back gap here. Is Jack going to put himself there? And look at that. Laust sees an opening and has to take that opening, and he knows how vital that was, because Jack getting held up here, and he's getting held up even more, and that's just what he wants to see. But a moment there from Laust, a little bit of an internet blip there, and I wonder if there was also a misshift. He's lost a bit of time there to Jack.
Speaking of drivers who got held up, Noel Lundberg had a big lunge down the inside from Ivan Platon, and suddenly it's 1, 2, and 3 at the front of that field as Pepe Fuentes now in second, has himself a tiny margin over Ivan now. In third, Gabriel Martinez trying to hunt this one down as well in P4. Christoph Olenishak in fifth there, just in the back, seeing your leading trio out there in GTO, as they have relatively done okay through the first round of traffic. Troubles for Laust Olsen going slow. He's overshot it going into Cunningham Corner.
Overshot it going into Cunningham Corner and decided not to rejoin unsafely, so just decided to do a little bit of grass mowing out there, and he's unfortunately lost a couple positions. He's now down into P10. Smart to just go onto the grass, but again, you can see having some issues out there today, and I wonder if that's cost him, because now you see Rodriguez, making that move. I think Pablo Laust has got a few issues out there at the moment, and I don't think they're stemming from the driving.
No, I don't think so either. You can see made away around Josh Brain, dove down the inside of Doug Cloud, and then overcooked it by a fairly sizable margin, and to arrive safely, took the grass through the Collier curve, and then found a way onto terra firma safely then for circuit. So that's a big battle, and this is what they're trying to get through, but it's getting busy in the middle. There was a little bit of too wide into turn 1 between Gael Gonzalez and Brendan Lim, but they are now just trying to deal with the leaders of GTO, who have every right to battle, and the sign of a great class being led is that GTO dictates where GTP goes.
Yep, and this is where they also realize, some of the regulars will know, right? We're through the back of the field. The front's always going to be bunched up. We've got to give them the respect. Brendan Lim's going to try and do a double overtake here. That's fine, because I don't see any issues. In fact, that had caused an issue, because Lumbo tried to go for a late move here, and they almost come together there through the Fangio chicane. They'll take it 3 wide very quickly. Still got a little bit of overlap. Javier Sanchez, where do you want to go? Inside, outside, forward, or backward? He'll take to the outside line there, and that allows Joni Hagner to hold that position It's a little bit treacherous, but now these GTOs, they can breathe for a few laps.
Well, here's the issue of treachery right now, Craig. As they sit down and battle, they've got to be very alert here, those GTPs, when they go through, that they're not run up the back by the GTOs. They're so good in the quick speed corners. It's when you need mechanical grip. The GTOs, those Audis, by nature of the way they drive, are so good at gripping up in the slow speed corners. They're quicker.
Yeah, and look how many slow speed corners there are at Sebring. It doesn't feel like it, but you look at the hairpin, you look at Cunningham, you look at Tower. Even Le Mans is a medium speed corner. It's a track that it's just a track that has a lot of corners where those GTOs will have the better launch. As Lundberg continues on, trying to find some slipstream, unable to find it. But he also now realizes that he can't have that lap traffic overtaking them to use for an advantage. But that was a real good heads-up move there. He saw that Lim had a little bit of a late move into overtaking both of them. He saw a door open. He tried to make it. No door open at the moment. He's going to have to reset and recharge.
Well, at the halfway stage of this race, there's the drive. Oh, brilliant, but they're so early on the brakes in for turn 3. There's nothing that Lundberg can do. Joni Hagner just held the brake a little bit better, and through the middle of the corner, he balks it up to get drive off the exit, and Mickey's back on the rear, almost trying to gobble up each and every position like he's trying to pick up US television companies. Hello, Disney, but now making the charge in towards the hotel hairpin. Not quite close enough just yet.
And now we get to see, and I know we always joke about we can't see his face. You can see the eyes. You can see he looks up, he looks to his right. He's just looking around to see what he needs to do, and he knows there's going to be a GTP coming behind. That's Diego Mastretta, and he knows he just has to keep focused. So this is what you like to see. Turns his head to the right a little bit. He's got triples, and some of these drivers do have triples, an ultra wide, a VR, you name it, they've got it. He's just keeping his eyes peeled because right now he can't look straight ahead. He has to look behind because he knows Diego's going to go. He slides to the right quickly. That's really smart there. But the rest of the field is going to get bunched up here. Diego's going to have to wait. He's not going to try and split both of them. He's going to try and do the same. That's going to hold up Joni Hagner.
Yeah, but he's got the clearance, though, as they go through the Le Mans chicane and into Jean de Bienne corner here, which opens up onto the Oldman Straight, and that is Pablo Rodriguez, who's looking very much the wrong way out of the final corner. How has that come about? I think he's tagged the wall and subsequently tagged Laust with it.
Do you know, I think Laust got away with it. I'm not entirely sure. We're going to have to see the damage on the back, on Laust's car. In fact, Laust is a lucky boy. He got away with that, and that's a real scary one. Here it is. We say respect the bumps. Right at the end, try to get on the throttle too much. And at that point in any prototype, you want to keep full throttle. Use that space. But then there's that moment that you go, oh, I'm not going to make it. These guys are going to make it, though. Noah Lundberg is side by side. He's got that overlap. He's going to take it side by side to turn 2. A little bit of paint scrapping there, but nothing gone. Real good defense in Joni Hagner once again.
Yeah, Lundberg immediately goes from attack to defence because it's now Mickey Friesen's turn to get on the noisy pedal and say, I'm here, I want this, and lie up that hotel hairpin out of the Gurney Bend. It's not freezing here today just yet, but it's looking like you're going to need to be ice cold in order to hold off. And the more that they scrap, look at that train of 3 that's just behind them, Craig. You've got Doug Cloud, you've got Josh Brain, and you've got Henry Morse. Those 3 want to make themselves known.
Well, let's look at the lap times. Last time out, a 59.8, a 59.8, a 59.3 from the top 3. And then a 59.8 from Cloud, a 59.7, and a 59.2 from Cloud, Brain, and Morse, respectively. So they are working together here, and they're starting to get towed along. 3 seconds is the gap, and that's all you need. You've got another run of the traffic, maybe another one after that. So you know that you can use that to your advantage, as Gail Gonzalez is trying to use all the track to his advantage to try and hold this against Javier Sanchez. He's going to do this around the outside. He has not. He made that move around the outside of Sunset. Are you kidding me?
Well, Gail Gonzalez knows that there are 1,004 ways to get the job done. Around the outside is one that you seldom do. He had to hold the position around the outside critically, so that's a good hold by Gail Gonzalez to maintain that 12th place overall. There's Josh Brain and Doug Cloud going for it then at Sunset Bend, and Doug Cloud now gets himself the hold once more, but Josh realizes here that there's a little bit more at stake, and they find themselves 4 seconds adrift on that main group. Pulls back to the outside once again, try and have another go at it. You can hold that inside line, little half wiggle through the middle, opens up the chance for drive off the exit. Henry's got eyes bigger than the belly here. He doesn't know which way to go. It's still covered on the inside. There's a bit of door given over to Josh Braid. Nothing he can do about that. Henry Morse, ever mercurial, takes the place.
And everyone knows the quality of Doug Cloud's defending. They have to just wait on to see if they can make the move, and Doug will not give it to you on a silver plate. You're going to have to take it yourself, and that's what he did there. But this is also Josh realizing there might be a bit of a champagne bottle moment here. They need to pop that cork because they need to catch up to these 3, and they're now starting to lose time. It's almost 4.5 seconds between the top 3 and the next 3, and still nothing changes here apart from Joni Hagner continues to harass and be a pain in Noel Lundberg's side because Noel wants that lead back, and he can't get it from the Glacier Racing. And they go through again, and I'm just looking at my map. Give it about 3 laps, I think, Jake, before the traffic comes around again.
Well, give it time, because Pepe Fuentes and Ivan Platon are still fighting for 2nd and 3rd. So keep an eye on that too out there in the racing. But your 3 that lead in GTO, it is all about opening up. Glacier Racing will look behind with Joni Hagner at the Band of Others car, the Boo Machine then of Noel Lundberg, and say, I'm not going to have a fright with what's behind me. Lundberg very happy to sit himself in line in the number 4 and say, I've got a chance to get around a very accomplished sim racer like Joni Hagner, but cannot find it at the moment. And I feel that this is a race of when, not if, you can make passes. I think it's when do you want to make this one the right time to get through.
Yeah, and I think the right time will be a couple laps later, because they're going to do about 20 laps around here today. Maybe 21, it just depends where Valenteus crosses them at the final.
Oh, Platon! Oh, Platon! Oh, look at this! Going right underneath on the inside, forcing a way through against Pepe Fuentes. Ah, that's beautiful in terms of a pass, but they're going to have no help with Kev on the exit. They're going to go right back to the pit wall as they go over towards turn number 1. Fantastic stuff from the Spaniards as they go to turn 1 once again. Fuentes on the outside. Ivan Platon picks it. Absolutely perfect.
He uses all the road there and then some, and we've got to get back to the GTOs, because you can see that Mickey Friesen almost had a run on Lundberg there for a moment, and he can't. And you're starting to wonder, Lundberg's got the freezing car behind. He's got the Glacier Racing car in front. This is not the cold sandwich that Noel Lundberg wants. He kind of wants the cold shoulder. He doesn't want to be stuck in the middle of 2 freezing rocks out there.
Oh, he doesn't, and he won't be buoyed by that little blink there from Joni Hagner just in front. It's a case of cold on top, cold behind, and saying, you know what, I want to heat this race up as much as possible through Jean de Bienne once more and onto the Ullman Straight. And it's about now just making sure you are hitting your marks, right place, right time, each and every single lap. Lundberg now moving over to the inside, is earlier on the brakes than Joni Hagner, because Hagner can extend for that wide line but gets absolutely no turn going through the middle of the corner. Maybe a few marbles have kicked up on the outside of the track there, because Hagner looked very much like he was out in the wind, but this is why he gets the run back for turn number 1, and Lundberg has to open the steering around the outside. Will this be a hold? Remember, turns 3 and 5 are inside line helping for Joni Hagner. Lundberg has to wait for the point of turn, and he has a bucket of understeer through the middle. And Mickey, oh, so brilliant. Will he try? But he can't quite get the angle.
Had to catch the steering wheel there, did Mickey, coming through 5. I think the car went for a little bit of a slide. Interesting move there from Joni Hagner. That's not the way you want to take the final corner on the final lap, because he would have lost the lead to Lundberg. That's a move that makes him go, you want the lead? Fine. I'm going to do some weird over-under through the corner of 1,004 turns. And by the way, just to let you know, Jake, turn 1 is armbar.
Yes, and turn 2 is armbar as they now look to try and sort it out. Noel Lundberg keep himself in play, and Pepe Fuentes is really dropping time out there to Ivan Platon because Gabri Martinez has now closed in, and so too Christoph Alenijak. That's Fabian Youngbluth intent, trying to find a way then as Laust Olsen is through on this lap.
Yeah, I think there may have been an issue earlier in the lap for Fabian, and it was indeed had a lock up the hairpin and went sideways, had to catch it, but this is Pepe Fuentes. He is not happy he lost that P2 because he really wants it, and this is a man that is just full power in an open wheeler when he comes to the Lotus 79, and he has to try and find the power here, and the colder track temp today, I know 30 Celsius doesn't sound cold, but it's cold compared to what Sebring can usually be. That can help Pepe here today, but the gap is starting to expand, and they'll start to hit the first of the pack of 3 right now on the exit of Sunset, and that means Ivan had a moment there. He just hesitated on what to do.
Yep, he was trying to get the car to rotate through the middle of the corner, got caught out in the bumps on the outside and slides and loses his podium. So he'll have to grab that back from not only the likes of Gabri Martinez, but Christoph Alenijak as well. Doug Cloud and Henry Moore side by side in front. This is for 4th, and Doug gives a bit of door again, and Henry says, I'm having none of that. They take each other out the equation, and it's easy as you like for Josh Brain, who's back up to 4th place.
Yeah, very interesting moment there. We got to get back to the lead, though, because I did wonder what was happening. Noel Lundberg takes back the lead in the GTOs. Here's Ivan Platon losing it just on the bump. You wait to see the little bump there. There it is, and the car goes. Fantastic look there. We'll see another replay in a moment for something else, but you can see Joni Hagner trying to get late on the brakes, and he's sliding that car. The respect is given, and Noel Lundberg has to go for this. But if he keeps going left here at Collier Curve, the inside will belong to Joni Hagner for Tower. And where does Pepe Fuentes go? He's got to make a move. Gabri Martinez is right behind him. They're all trying to jostle for positioning.
Well, no room at the inn for anybody here, and Hagner has to jam on the brakes through the Bishop's Bend on the Flying Fortress straight, and that will certainly open things back up again. Gabri Martinez now sees 2nd in the sights, and Pepe Fuentes there had a massive panic moment because you have to respect when the race leaders are going, look at that serpentine heading over to Sunset.
Yeah, got to give the respect. He's trying his best to give that serpentine. That's an open wheel moment if I've ever seen it, to do the serpentine. You see Valenteus takes another fastest lap. We're not really caring about Valenteus today. And is that a correction from Pepe there at the end of Sunset? It looked it a little bit. Less than 10 minutes to go. It's getting nip and tuck. They're through the traffic, and I feel like they'll be through the front of the traffic for the last time there. They may have one last go at the back, but this is now just going to come down to pace, and I see the sun coming out.
I do too, and there's not much of it, and there's no room to go as they go side by side. Nowhere for Henning Schwebig, nowhere either for Jack Wells to try and work through. Seamus Power's going to join this because they're side by side for 4 straight corners, and off the exit of the Gurney Bend, let's make it 5. Schwebig finds himself in the grass. He doesn't quite have the confidence to go around the outside. Look at Seamus try and find a run. He gets balked on the inside. He can't quite make it work. Now they're going to scrap on the brakes. Jack Wells, Hagner gets sideways, gets into the side of Jack. On the exit, who's going to get drive? No one is the answer, and it's going to give Mickey Friesen half a chance. Hagner apologises over the radio, but it does give him a little bit of a reprieve here. Mickey Friesen has a chance to try and get through. He won't, and now here comes Laust Olsen to the party, joined by Fabian Youngbluth.
Everyone's trying to get through these lead cars in the GTOs. They realize this is the only battle in GTO. They're giving the respect, but they also know, just like what happened with Pepe last lap, if they get held up here, they're going to be losing more time. Laust Olsen now getting held up by Fabian Youngbluth. This is Ivan Platon. We were talking about him just a moment ago, and he's got Lesniak right in front of him now, and Lesniak, he may be only +1 for the day, but he's up into 4th, a respectable 4th at the pedigree out here today. Because remember, Lesniak's a number 17 car, the 17th highest I rating here, and he's battling the number 1, the number 6, they're out the equation, but the 7 and the 9 is around him. It's a real tough field out there.
It really is, and there's Gabri Martinez trying to go the long way around Pepe Fuentes at turn 1. Not going to quite make that happen. We did see earlier there Doug Cloud getting the hit over from Martin Krejcierik out out there on track. But Gabri here in the midst of a massive, massive scrap for second and third. And if these two get it wrong, then you look behind at those of Elena Jacques and Platon. They will be screaming podium at this moment in time. Gabri close in third position, thinking about a nose to the inside, but not quite close enough.
Not quite close enough, and I wonder if that scared Pepe a little bit, because I don't think Gabri tried to do that on purpose. Just a little bit of misjudging there. And again, a little bit of a serpentine going into braking, just to say you want to go to the right, tri-lane move. You're not going to do it on my watch at the moment. So Pepe is really good when it comes to this fast speed corrections and defending. Gabri is a man who really loves to send it, and I think the two of them will come together at some point. You may see a late lunge at the end of the race for Gabri. I say at the end of the race, with 7 minutes to go, crunch time is now starting.
We are at the end of the race. We're in the final quarter, and this is where you start counting laps back, and you look at Aldrius Valenteus, who leads this field. How long is it going to be? And I did say 15 seconds, a margin at least. The gap to the front, 14 seconds at the moment, and only expanding as they battle. So as they cross the line, they've got 6:44 on the clock. They're doing 1:45 lap times, which puts to me at about 4-ish laps to go as they sort it out. Gabri not close enough this time by, but Jonny Hagner and co are still in a scrap right now, and they're probably looking at each other going, through all of the traffic, we're still together.
Yep, they are together. Same with Yvonne Platon and Lesniak here. They've been battling as well. And it's interesting to see that Christoph is starting to pull them ahead. And we're going to get some crazy moments here in the GTOs, because it almost looks like Lundberg wants to try and go around the outside of Sunset. That's going to cost him, because here comes Mickey Friesen, and he can't make that move. Serpentine once again from Jonny Hagner, and they're now starting to do that serpentine. And Mickey Friesen says, give me that little slipstream. I'm going to try and make this. The door's got to be open. And Friesen tries to go for that P3 sorry, just can't make it.
Wow, this is the story of Mickey Friesen's race. He is stuck, absolutely positively stuck in that third place. He's tried on the band of others, number 4, to get by left, right, up, down, sideways, slantways, you name it. The great class elevator can't get him up into second position. And Jonny Hagner at the front, who's been playing some brilliant defense all day long, has done only what is required. Lundberg closing, tags him, big power slide by Noel, holds himself steady. Mickey with a brilliant lunge around, moves himself to second.
I did wonder if Mickey was just going to hold there, but I think he realized if he got up to Jonny Hagner, if Lundberg does start to lose a bit, Lundberg will get pulled in. They've got time to the rest of the field. Gap is still 5 seconds from the top 3 to Josh Brain in 4th, so they can hold on. And I did see that Lundberg straight away, I think it was Lundberg, yeah, he got on the sorry right away, just went a bit too much, and I could see that coming. Well, you could see that as well. They were just getting oh so close. And now the question, here's Valenteus. He's been untouched all race. That gap is 15 seconds. Will he overtake the lead GTOs? And will they have to do one more lap?
Well, Aldrius Valenteus is at turn 7 at the moment, the hotel hairpin. By comparison, they're on the Ullman straight here, Jonny Hagner and co. To catch that up in 4 minutes, I think maybe a bridge too far, but you never know here at this stage. Remember, the difference in terms of lap times between them is 16 seconds a lap, so I don't think Aldrius is going to reach in time, but he will get through a bulk of cars as he gets a lap on Neil Kemp. He'll look at Matthew Cockerham as the next car to go through. An ease from him today. He has not been challenged, and I would say that he's been shackled in terms of what his power level is. I don't think this is an Aldrius that has gone fully at 100% today.
And you've got to remember, he didn't drive a lot last season. I think he did 2 races. They'll have to check the stats. It almost feels like this is him just having a little bit of a test drive, a little bit of a shake the rust off today, because he did have a moment in qualifying that cost him, as Javier Sanchez lost out or gained on
Mastretta
as well. Mastretta pulled off to the side of the track.
Blown an engine.
Whoa, and that's the first one of the season.
Yeah, not often you see it, but when you do, it's dramatic, and it was down at turn 3. He was trying to get through the gears, try and get to engine just let go, and you've got to be careful about over-revving.
Gotta be careful about over-revving, and that's what happens. And you can get that if you're not too careful, because some drivers, they do like to go down 2 gears in one movement with an H pattern around here as Seamus Power continues on. The day, I think he wanted a bit more out there today, but he's going to try and gain more as he's got Jack Wells still ahead of them. Some of these drivers have not been separated all day. They made their positions on the first couple of laps, and then they just worked with each other to just keep on battling. And this is what we're seeing. Power and Wells continued. Henning Swebeg, though, manages to pull away.
Yeah, he's built himself about a 1.5 gap and will be looking to try and nurse that home here with the margin he's got. 6th is certainly points that you don't shake a stick at. Ivan Platon will be quite happy but would like more. Right now, he knows he wants to get back to net even. He should have had 2nd. His own mistake dropped him down to 5th, but he's got to try and do more if he wants to get by Christoph Velenajak, who has been one of the veterans of this series for a very long time. We've known him for ages here, as now Noel Lundberg decides he's going to start getting a bit frisky, and Mickey Friesen then will lose the place. And the reason why is because he gets a half slide coming out of the corner, a tag for his troubles, and I think he missed a shift.
I don't think it's a missed a shift. I think he actually got hit on the rear wing. You can see the rear wing, the ring side there. You can see that he has some form of suspension damage out there. No mechanical black flag, but he's going to be really struggling, especially when it comes to getting some power down in this 4-wheel drive, because this should be the last lap. And this is Valenteus on the last lap right now. He's just coming into turn 2. These guys are at the hairpin. It's going to be nip and tuck.
Yeah, Mickey Friesen just couldn't get any drive coming off the exit of the corner. That's why he had the tap. That's why he had the damage to the rear, because Lundberg wasn't expecting it. There is Aldrius Valenteus by comparison, as he's making his way through now behind Joran van Hicks, who has done very well actually on his recovery drive. He's now into what is 8th place at the moment. Actually, I'll correct myself, 7th place. So Joran van Hicks from the pits has done a great job. Gabri Martinez now throwing a big lunge to the outside. Snap twice if you want to try and find a place through. Pepe Fuentes resolute on the defence and saying, I'm not letting this one go too easily. Gabri, you're going to have to find a way by, and he'll cover off the move at Cunningham, but it'll be around the outside. Gabri tries to pivot. If he can get drive here through the Collier curve, he's got a huge chance of getting the move done at Tower, and he gets room to go side by side the long way around. Very tough at Tower. Now not trying to pick the run up off the exit again. It's not there. Valenteus, by comparison, is making his way on towards Ullman and heading for perfection as he goes through. He will not catch the GTO leaders. They will scrap for the final lap of this race, but through Sunset Bend, the gold standard shines brightly once again. Aldrius Valenteus romps away from the field and wins here at Sebring. For 2nd, it is Pepe Fuentes, who looks like he's got just enough of a gap. Gabri gave it his best, but it is Pepe who holds himself in just the right place at the right time.
Yeah, Doug Cloud, just a little bit of a moment there could have spooked him. Does not do that. Even Platon will have to give up and to commit to P5, and the Lesniak will take that 4th. Henning Swebeg is in a last battle with Jack Wells. Jack will just miss out there, as Wells will have to take that P7. Seamus Power will home in 8th, and this is the battle we got to see. Mickey Friesen, with that damage, he's out of the equation, and it just feels like a normal day for Mickey. An unfortunate, unlucky moment at the end has cost him once again, but these two still have a little battle to go, and you've got to feel, if you're Joni Hagner, you know what Lumbo is going to do, and you know when it's going to happen. It will be down at Sunset for one last time. It will have to be just a casual drive and then pull away when they come to the Ullman Straight. But it is oh so tough for the washing machines because they punch holes through the air.
The big key is that Cunningham Corner, the gap was 100 feet. They used feet markers in America with the cones. At 500 feet, it was 400 for Joni Hagner. Now it's about getting an uber run for Noel Lundberg, who looked like he was out of it with 3 laps to go, and onto this Ullman straight. And it looks like Joni Hagner's got a bit of a margin here. He's desperately trying to shake the band of others car behind, because Noel will throw one from a mile back if he needs to. Heavy aggressive on the brakes, big outside line, needs to get the drive off the exit. Hagner hugs the inside like a cuddly toy from his childhood and will hold. No, Lundberg can't do enough. Joni Hagner, what a staving defense he has had today to win this race.
Mickey Friesen will have to be content with P3, but what a drive it was for everyone. They'll start doing the drift just to celebrate like they always do in the GTO. Fantastic driving, though. You've got to give the respect. They were basically bumper to bumper for the whole 40 minutes of that race, and it was just decided by a 10th.
1/10 is all it takes, and we'll take a look at the official classified results as they run on through. Not many retirements today on a split field here, and some of the best came to play, but the gold standard was above everyone else by a mile. Aldrius Valenteus, I did say 15 seconds, I'm only half a second out, 15 and a half over Pepe Fuentes, with Gabri Martinez finishing off in 3rd. Christopher Leinashak will take 4th place ahead of Ivan Platon in 5th, and Henning Schwebig having a very resolute 6th. It was close between him and Jack Wells over the line, just half a 10th splitting them, with Seamus Power in 8th, Laus Olsen 9th, and Fabian Youngbluth rounding out your top 10. Over the page then to 11th, where Brendan Lim finds himself. It would be 12th for Gael Gonzalez, and Xavier Sanchez there in 13th. 2 laps down with a blown engine for Diego Mastretta, and then Pablo Rodriguez, Shadi Ahmad, and Antonio Alvarez all having retirements out there. Overall, a tough day at the office for those at the back, but GTO proved to be a spectacle, as it always is.
GTO does what GTO does, and Joni Hagner goes up 1 position from the start of the race and wins by 0.181 over Noel Lundberg. And beside them with Mickey Friesen, who had that damage, who could not battle at the end. Josh Brain will be finishing in 4th, and Henry Morse goes up 3 places to 5th. Ita Costa Salo will be 6th. These are all lapped down because they didn't do an extra lap. Johan van Hecht had a hardware failure and had to come in from the pit, recovered the P7. Doug Cloud will go down to 8th. Martin Krajcik will be 9th, and Matej Larinsky will be 10th. And then just 4 drivers left. All of them finished, despite 2 taking damage, as Aitor Sintet Galindo will be in 11th. Matthew Cockerham will take 12th. Andreas Schuster forgot the right setup, will be 13th. And Neil Kemp, he did spend 7, almost 8 minutes in the pit getting repaired, but he came back out, and by Joe, he finished.
And he did in that last paying position. But a big day at the office here, Craig, and we are going to have a chance to talk with a couple of drivers. I know you're very frantically looking to run down the paddock to a driver who maybe didn't have as much of a great day as some others. Aitor Sintes Galindo stood by with Craig King.
Yeah, I got Aitor Sintes Galindo with me, and this is starting to feel a little bit a regular occurrence now. You're in a GTO. What's happened? Where's your prototype, Aitor?
Good question, but let's just say that the more I try to fiddle around with the Audi, the more I try to understand it, the more I enjoy the Audi, and it's already came to a point that it's like, now it's time about to do a full season about it. I know I know the results aren't as good as the Nissan, but to be fair, I think if I were in the Nissan, it wouldn't be much different. If I'm honest, I was already outside the top 10. Well, today, a bit disappointing. I was fighting for the top 10, but unfortunately, the last lap fight didn't go as well as I expected. But we'll live and learn, and yeah, we learned a lot today, and yeah, moving on to the next week.
We move on to next week, but the key thing here as well, and this is something that some drivers learn and other drivers don't. You've gone from the fastest class to the slower class. That changes not just your driving, but also your racecraft, because what changes have you had to do when it comes to traffic management? Because you used to be, you just send it. Now you're having to watch out for people sending it. How much have you had to make an adjustment for that?
Well, good question. Yeah, today I had to look into the mirrors more than used to, but to be fair, it was also a very competitive field with the Nissans already, so I'm not surprised. So yeah, it's about the question of I know this car is difficult to set a lane properly, so it's like, okay, the cars are coming, so I just have to just send a message to the Nissan. It's like, I'm gonna go this way, you can go the other way, and that's it. So far, it's been working. Hopefully the Nissans are happy with that. I'm pretty sure I ruined some fights there, but unfortunately I was also in my own fight. So yeah, sorry, not sorry, I would say. But yeah, regarding the traffic, it's something that I mean, when you come to from the Nissan, it's like you have to respect the Audi, and you have to be like in the motors, like you have to do your own race and don't get in the way of the other Nissans if possible. If let's say the fight itself is not important, or is just cruising around, yeah. But then again, yeah, it's a matter of yeah, just experience as well. Yeah, many years here, so yeah, I'm already used to this. So yeah.
Well, we go to Mugello next week. It's a track that, when you're in a GTP, I feel it's the type of track that you love to drive. It's going to be different in a GTO next week. Are you still looking forward to that challenge?
Wow, Mugello. Yeah, this is the track that doesn't benefit the Audi at all. All sweepers, all sweepers. In fairness, I think it's well, it's a challenge I must endure. I think I'm gonna commit to the Audi this season to see what's going on and see if I can at least get not the podium finish, because unless there's a massive wreck, aka Monza combined, it's not gonna be much. But I'm trying to learn the Audi. I think this is a good way to learn. So yeah, let's try to learn the understeer, try to learn the car itself. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, looking forward for next week as well.
Well, we'll see how it goes. A lot of time to go and practice going left, right, forward and backward, understeer and oversteer. But for Aitor, it's not a good day in the office in 11th, but it's just all about the fun day for them today, Jake. A really good drive from him. And it is pretty hard to go from a prototype to a GTO like that.
It very much is. And speaking of those who are in GTOs, Joni Hagner here with us right now. A victory here today. Joni, that's what we call a hard-fought victory overall. You had Noel, you had Mickey, both there trying to throw what they could at the wall, see what stuck. But for you, it was a case of playing rough shot from the front. You didn't want to let go of that for a second.
Yeah, it was a bit easier to manage the pace in the front, and also tiny bit safer with the Nissans also.
So having that in play, how critical was it for you today in terms of understanding this race? How critical was the split today in terms of racing? Because it could have been a day of 55 drivers out there very easily. You have 61 that sign up, so you get a nice little bit more reduced field. Did that make life so much easier for you with the GTP traffic?
Well, it's nice to have a bit more quality of the drivers, but it doesn't really change that much.
It doesn't change that much. Let's talk about the two bits of contact there towards the end. It looked like you had a couple nibbles at the back of you with a few laps to go. Noel got into the rear of you, and then Mickey having himself that missed shift, it seemed, off of the exit. Was that the moment where the race was won for you?
Kind of, because tiny gap here is hard to catch. But it's very hard to drive away from the draft also. But it's nice to have like a 1 second gap for one lap, so you can take a bit easier with tires, not to push that much.
Do you think you'll see a similar sort of style of racing when it comes to Mugello next week?
Probably. It's it's quite a fast-paced track, so should be good.
It's always going to be fun. A big win today for Joni Hagner. Starts the season off right with a huge win here today. Craig, final thoughts as we bring things to a close here today from Sebring.
Fantastic battling all around. A 4,000 strength of field out there today with a split. And it just goes to show sometimes less is more. But we always do like to see more drivers out there. And it's great to see over 60 drivers sign up for the first broadcast of the IMSA Vintage this season. And if you do like that, and if you do want to get involved, because I know there's a lot of people watching on the broadcast and watching back later in the day and on the week, Mugello next week, that could be a fun one. It's a tricky track, but it does give a lot of challenges for overtaking.
It certainly does, and the only place you can catch IMSA Vintage action is here with us on the Global SimRacing Channel as part of a Genesis Extreme production. You can join us September 27th at 5 p.m. UTC, 1 p.m. Eastern, to make sure that one of the trickier tracks that Italy has to offer brings itself into full view. From the entire team that's brought this show to you here today, from Craig King alongside me, Daniel Costello in the director's chair, and Dougie Beard, who has provided the cameras here for us. My name is Jake Sperry. As simple as it goes, you look for great racing and you get it in spades with the GTOs here in IMSA Vintage. It was a case of Joni Hagner rolling back those years and saying, this is what I'm capable of week in and week out. It's why the Finns love this car so much and chose that they said, I'd like to drive this when it came to the World Cup of iRacing. You look at that and you say, what a staunch defense it was. But there is one standard when it comes to IMSA Vintage. It's the gold standard. Aldrius Valenteus, absolutely dominant, 15 seconds clear, and a message sent to Jacob Reed. Catch me if you can.